That's our friend Alfredo calling CQ using Morse code. You can too. We'll show you how to get started coming up.
This is Ham Radio. 10-488, this is 4BFR. I hear you loud and clear. Go on.
If you got into ham radio this century, you probably were not required to learn Morse code. But it's still a thriving and even growing part of the experience. We're here to give you some background on Morse and some tips to get you started sending your dits and das. I'm Jim, N4BFR, lead instructor at Ham Radio Prep. Let's get started. Samuel Morse created his code in the late 1800s. His goal was to help standardize and speed up telegraph messages. Western Union telegrams and train schedule messages were sent via wires. Telegraphers used a series of dots and dashes to send letters, numbers, and punctuation. When radio started, telegraphers moved over to wireless message sending. Groups agreed on a variant called International Morse code, which is what we use today. It's improved on the original by adding special characters and formatting. When radio amateurs set up their first stations, the only option for them was to use Morse code. Using voice communications was only a concept at the dawn of radio. So professional telegraphers would share the airwaves with these new amateurs. The pros didn't like the way the amateurs sent their code, not at all. It wasn't polished like a regular telegrapher. They thought these new amateur operators were ham-fisted when it came to sending code. So they referred to amateur radio as ham radio. Just one of the origin stories on how we got that term for our hobby. Even to this day, sending messages via Morse code is a very bandwidth-efficient way of operating. It just takes two tones, a short tone and a longer one. A short sound is a dit, a long sound is a da. Let's look at two letters Alfredo used, CQ. They're a combination of dits and das. C is dot it, Q is da 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 da. Let's listen to that one more time. We'll get into the other letters shortly, but this will give you an idea of how messages are formed. So why is Morse code, also called CW for continuous wave, so popular? One thing driving the popularity of Morse code is its efficiency, while another is a large embedded base of users. Then there are new hams who don't have to learn Morse code, they want to learn it. Where's Morse code active in ham radio? There are three big areas. Contesting. Our friend Alfredo runs the WP3C contest station. They enter CW contests regularly. More than 8,000 hams around the world submitted logs in just one contest. In 2022, Alfredo and his operating partners made more than 5,600 contacts in one weekend on Morse code. Morse code can be sent at very low power and still have terrific propagation. Using low power is called QRP operating. For Morse code users, that's transmitting on 5 watts of power or less. QRP with Morse code is really popular with parks on the air and summits on the air enthusiasts. This is because the equipment can be lighter weight. K4SWL operates what we call QRPP. In this video, he activates a park on half a watt of transmit power. QRPP just means low power. It's so low that if you connected the output to an LED bulb, it wouldn't even glow brightly. Here, he's set up in North Carolina and connecting with or working a station in New Jersey.
gets in here. Boy, he sounds strong. Another New Jersey. Maybe I'll hear W2 AEW.
You can watch all 20 minutes of his activation video on Thomas's K4SWL YouTube channel. Another group that uses Morse code are people supporting emergency communications. Morse code is not an encrypted communications mode, but only a few people know it. So it's sometimes used to send more sensitive messages. For Morse, you can use simple circuits and highly portable devices. And sometimes Morse code gets out when other types of communications can't. Let's talk about that equipment. Of course, you need a radio for CW. There's lots of fun options around, including the KX2 from Elecraft you saw K4SWL operating. They even offer a smaller KH1 radio too. You can also find smaller QRP radios from import vendors like Xiegu, and of course, the big radio providers like the ICOM IC705 for QRP. Just about any HF radios ready for CW. To send Morse, you'll need a Morse code key. This is what's called a straight key. You push up and down on the black handle to send your dits and das. You need to control the length and spacing on your own. A da should be the length of 3 dits. The space between elements in a letter is a dit as well. Let's do 2 more letters here. If you hear 1 dit, that's the letter E. 1 da is the letter T. Many hams, including our ham radio prep team, believe the best way to learn to send Morse code is by using a straight key. Let's cover a couple of other types of sending devices. This key is called a paddle. In this case, a twin paddle. You use one side of the key to send dits and the other side to send das. In this video, we controlled our own length, but many radios have software designed to do that. This is a single lever paddle. It mechanically makes contacts to send dits or das depending on the way you move the paddle. You can find keys similar to this design called bugs. They have weights that help mechanically send a series of dits or das. Hold the paddle to one side and you'll get several dits or das until you release it. Most keys connect up to a radio with a 3.5mm or 1/4" jack connection. You can see in the clip where I connect my straight key to the key jack on a radio. When was the last time you learned a new language? Maybe in high school you learned bits and pieces of a language like Spanish or French. It's totally different in a class than in a travel situation, right? If you get dropped in the middle of Madrid, you get immersed in Spanish right away. You pick up different clues and contexts by the way it's used. Immersion is definitely a great way to learn Morse code as well. All the materials we've looked at talk about practice, practice, practice. So be prepared to do a lot of listening as you learn CW. That's okay. There are lots of sources to choose from, and we'll get to those. But first, let's introduce you to the letters of your new language. You might be thinking to yourself, why isn't A a dot and B a dash and so on? Speed is a factor here. Morse code was designed with speed in mind. That means the most popular letters use short combinations. Meanwhile, less used letters are longer. Let's look at vowels, for example. Vowels are frequently used, so they're all relatively short and distinct as Morse code letters. Different letters then fall in line roughly as they exist in popularity. Remember, T is just a da, S is 3 dits. That's how the components of a letter are referred to. A short sound is a dit, a long sound is a da. So that letter U above would be dit dit da. If Beethoven was still around, we know his favorite Morse code letter would be a V. Da-da-da-da. So we have 26 letters that span from 1 dit for E to da-da-dit-da for Q. 1 to 4 elements per letter. Contrast that with numbers, which are all based on 5 elements. So if you hear 5 Morse code sounds in a group, you know you're hearing a number. 5 is 5 dits. Dit, 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 dit. 0 is all dashes or das. Da, 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 da. There are a few letter combinations that are super popular. Let's go through 5 of those you're gonna hear regularly. This pattern of da, da, dit, 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 da, da is the number 73. It's a great way to sign off after a CW QSO. 73 to you. These numbers are usually run together. Usage of a combination of letters and/or numbers together is called a prosign. It's a standardized short code for a message. Like, you might say THX in a text message. You would send 73 in CW. Let's look at some other prosigns. You'll probably know this one. It's sent in an emergency. Did you learn this one as a kid? It's SOS. It doesn't actually stand for Save Our Ship, but that's a nice way to remember it. In the POTA clip earlier, you heard 5NN. That was a signal report. Hams use 5NN interchangeably for 599. If you're making a lot of ham radio contacts over CW, you'll get a lot of signal reports. Hopefully, they'll all be 599. Before you can be in the log, you need to find someone to contact. They're going to call CQ to tell you they are ready to copy. You also heard DE in the POTA clip. Before they give you your call sign, they will say, "This is." That's the prosign DE. So you heard CQ, CQ, DE, and 4BFR, K. The K isn't my call sign, it's used as a break symbol to basically say, "I'm done, go ahead," or "over to you." Some hams use BK, like in the POTA video earlier. If you want to know more about prosigns, we recommend this Wikipedia article. Here's an exercise for you. Start to learn your own call sign in Morse code. Go ahead and write it down. You can practice with it as you go along. Let's do it for our club call, AA1RC. I would just write it down. Dit-da, dit-da, dit-da-da-da-da, dit-da-dit, da-dit-da-dit. With your own call sign and a few prosigns, you have everything you need to make a quick QSO. Remember, that's ham speak for a contact. Here's one between me, N4BFR, and James, N0WRL. We slipped one more pro sign in here. See N0WRL sending TU? That means thank you. Morse code speed is generally judged in words per minute, or WPM. Back when it was a license requirement, entry-level hams needed to know 5 words per minute. Amateur extras had to copy 5 minutes worth of information at 20 words per minute to get their license. All the audio clips you just heard are at 13 words per minute. That's the speed general operators needed to pass their ham exams back in the day. Words per minute is different from CW wait. Wait is the amount of time it takes to send a letter or word based on how many dits and das it includes. Lower weight calls such as N5EEE have a weight of 32 dits and das. They're preferred to heavier weight calls like KQ0XYZ that has 90 dits and das. So one call sign can take 3 times longer than another to send with Morse code. We started off with our friend Alfredo calling CQ. Someone answered him. We'll link to the whole contact in our companion article. Ready to hear some Morse code on the air? You can start by checking out the band plan for the band you're interested in. Let's pick 20 meters. With CW, you can operate anywhere between 14.0 and 14.350 if you're an amateur extra. Check your license privileges for your band availability. On 20 meters, you'll find hotspots between 14.0 and 14.070 for CW. There are some places within that range to look for different styles of operating. This is not a complete list, but we'll give you an idea of some places to look and what to look for. Around 14.060, you'll find QRP and POTA operators, while slow code nets are around 14.052. If you want to listen to code practice transmissions, tune to 14.0475. One place to work on your worked all states for CW is at 14.053. Remember, the key to learning is decoding. So listen, listen, listen. This is the tip of the iceberg for getting started in Morse code operations. The #1 way to improve your performance is to start listening. Remember our example of learning a language? Immerse yourself in code. We'll give you 3 good ways to practice. First, listening to QSOs. Turn on your radio and tune in some CW. This is probably what you'll do most as a Morse code operator. Getting the flow of a contact is a great way to practice decoding CW. How about cracking beacons? We talked about the IARU beacon network before. They transmit call signs in CW. Hunt them and others. Decode them for practice. You can find a very detailed list of beacons on the Radio Society of Great Britain's website at rsgb.org. Code practice transmissions. The ARRL sends fast and slow code practice transmissions several times a day over HF. Times change, so check their website for an updated schedule. Apps and games are a fun way to practice too. Here are a couple of examples. Practicing with Morse is practical. Why? Because it's a daily 5-letter word in CW that you might not normally hear on the air. Play online at morsel.fun. How about creating your own code with a Morse code translator? Type in a few words and hear how they sound in CW. You can find some different ones on the App Store. Or use onlinesound.net's Morse code generator, like we did earlier in this lesson for some example sounds. Download Code Practice audio files. You'll find Code Practice podcasts on your favorite podcatcher, or get files from the ARRL website. You'll hear the names Farnsworth and Koch when it comes to learning Morse code. These are formal learning methods. Both have you learning by listening to code at a target speed, like 15 words a minute. With Koch, you start off with 2 letters, master them, and move on. Farnsworth spaces out the words to start, so the average speed is slower. There are many online tools to help you learn. LWCO.net has a Koch method course. The Long Island CW Club does online courses. Or try YouTube for some old Army training videos. It doesn't matter why you want to get involved in Morse code. POTA, QRP, MCOM are all great reasons. Perhaps you just want to learn a new skill. Go get started with your training, and we hope to hear your dits and das on the air soon.
We've helped over 60,000 students get their US FCC amateur radio license, and we can help you too, no matter your age or educational background. Go to www.hamradioprep.com and try a free lesson today.